check. douglAR Politics, ready to go. Atlantic Studios, we in the Southland. Ready. douglAR Politics. Check. douglAR Politics starting in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. douglAR Politics, it's Sunday night. Good evening and welcome to douglAR Politics, and you're all coming from the 103.1 FM corridor line. Congratulations to those who won. My goodness, I was watching some of the things on Facebook and my mouth started water. So well done, it was excellent. Now, I see Keith Christopher Rowley going with Noel Pretty Boy Garcia in the stadium, because they're spending $80 million to refurbish the A.C. Crawford Stadium. And Rowley went for a photo op. Now there's a man who tell you he ain't going for no photo op to give you no assistance when you flood out, when his government's failure to dredge the rivers, to fix drains and so flood out. He went there with Noel Garcia, $80 million, because they're going to have a youth Commonwealth Games here, but they don't spend money to develop the athletes, the coaches. In football, coaches are being owed money for years. There's no development, no science, no coach education. They've eliminated sport development officers in the ministry. The sport company is a waste of time. All the engineers and everybody that's there at the sport company was designed to manage projects because of the inherent knowledge of sport, sporting activities, sport fields, sport maintenance, and so on. Rowley want to control every cent of your money spent. He and Noel Garcia. And remember, I tell you, I see Noel Garcia a few years ago in the grocery, Massey stores in Alice Glen with one big bag. And I swear I see Rowley name on it now. I didn't have my glasses yet, so I wasn't sure. So Noel Garcia have to build everything. So you have a whole sport company that was created and designed and HR outfitted, the HR design on the human resource of engineers and sports specific people, and them is not to do nothing. Is Unicott and Noel Garcia, from hospital to health center to airport to central block to fancy building to president's house, prime minister resident, everything is Noel Garcia. But they would not invest in the young children. It would not find money for you, but they're finding money to spend. And let me tell you something. That 80 million they spend to fix up A.C. Crawford Stadium, all of that will go to waste. Because since I was a minister and forensic engineers went in and so on, there is some detailed infrastructure work underneath the stadium that has to be done in order to shore it up. So these superficial things that they're doing on the outside, when you have to go back into the guts of the stadium to do the real work that the engineers say to do, all that 80 million they spend it would waste. But who get contract and who get what they get, they don't get. And our country is suffering, and they're telling you that them need property tax because you want food card and you want thing. And how Kamala go give you that? From what? So where they get the 80 million to waste on a Commonwealth Youth Games without preparing? People don't host games until their athletes are prepared and they're at a certain level ready to showcase not only the beauty and brilliance of the country, the host country, through the perfection and essence of the amazing accomplishments of the athletes, and then you showcase your flora, fauna, your beaches, your hotels, your food, your doubles, and so on. But you do not host a games when your athletes are ill prepared, or else you just cutting track for Guti to run. So we go have to stand up and hear different anthems, whether it's England, whether it is South Africa, whether it is Canada. We will have to go and hear those anthems one after the next because the PNM did not prepare our athletes. But they're rushing to spend money, build this, fix this, things, just to spend your money. But no big thing, all you vote for them. And when they had a meeting down in South, they run because Kamala fill up the place with the yellow down in South. So the PNM run in South. Yeah, watch him. Photo up, man. He actually real good. Yeah? They're doing photo ops. But he wouldn't come and help you when you flood out. He wouldn't come when you're under pressure. He don't care about you. He going to do photo op. Anyway, Randall Mitchell, the Minister of Tourism, say the tourists are returning. And he said in the PNM meeting down in South, Tourism Minister Randall Mitchell said at a PNM public meeting, we have at the center of our policies and programs, you the people, and that is the PNM way. I don't know how they're going to say that. You know, it's such a blatant falsehood. Where the people, where the tourists, where the tourism? So I want to hear now what he talk about, what tourism policy and plan and diversification Randall Mitchell talk about. He said the tourism industry was very labor intensive. Prior to the pandemic, there were 30,000 persons directly employed in tourism. Tell us prior to PNM in September 2015, how many people were employed in Tobago and Trinidad through tourism, because the arrivals were much higher until y'all came in and crashed everything. Not only the domestic tourism Trinidad and Tobago, but the international arrivals and international arrivals in general. And now with the crime situation, the scourge of Trinidad and Tobago, anytime you click, somebody saying, let me see, I want to go on a holiday. Let's see, let me go Bahamas, what can I see? Turks and Caicos, Barbados, Antigua, Grenada. Oh, let's check Trinidad and Tobago. Oh my goodness. Gunshots, murder, sit down in a bar, shoot up, playing pool, dead, on a football field, dead, basketball, dead. No, man, I ain't going to spend my money to go there, man. I ain't going. So let me hear what Randall Mitchell say. To cut a long story short, Randall Mitchell say, them organize some cruise ship and 1,000 people get work to go on a cruise ship. And the cruise ship not staying here, no, the people. The cruise ship not sailing up the Caroni River, you know. The cruise ship going so, them getting paid in US and them flowing outside. That they are no work here, you know. That they do nothing here, you know. That's the entire tourism policy, is that them organized to get people work on a Caribbean cruise ship. Crude falls to US 6809, eh? Your intelligent Minister of Finance, the brightest engineer who does anything he build, it does fall down. Breeze does blow it down. He pegged your budget at $92.50. And the price of a barrel of oil gone down to $68. Think about that. He budgeted your budget, revenue streams, to service you, the people, at $6 US per MMBTU. And right now, it's down at $2.27. Every single day, this government is running at a deficit. That's why you can't get back your VAT refunds. That's why salary is late. That's why invigilators and judges for carnival ain't get paid yet. That's why everybody's being stalled. Teachers cannot be paid. Nurses get ready. The children get ready for the class. They cancel the class. Food cards, they cut in everything. But they ain't cutting photo op when they building. And then they build in an administration building for the hospital that is in a woeful state, but the building looking nice. We were practically forced to accept 4% of say the prison officers, you know. Now this is, and the PNM are telling you that their policies are people-centered. This is the prison officers. Prison officers can't voice their displeasure or disgust openly, whether it be political or otherwise. So they are well aware of the fact that we were practically forced into the position of having to accept the offer placed before us. And we will say it made sense at the time to do so, because it allows us now to negotiate for the other 2 periods. This is the words of President of the Prison Officers Association, Gerard Gordon. Now, Gerard Gordon, okay, but who you're going to negotiate with? The same people who tell you 000101101. So you understand how important elections are? Because if you are saying that you are forced to accept that minuscule, painfully woeful, disrespectful 4% from the PNM, so that the next period coming up for 2020 to 2023, you could go to negotiate. Do you think you should leave Colmember there to be the one that you're going to negotiate with? Or do you think that it is better to put a lady called Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who when she was Prime Minister, she settled 143 wage negotiations, going back as far as 2003 for Hilton workers. She offered people up to 14% and so on. Who is the better Prime Minister to go and negotiate with? Think about that, prison officers. Whenever any election is called, that is what you have to vote on. Who you want to negotiate with. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who like people and like to pay public servants, or Rowley Imbert, who say wean yourself off the government and take 0001. Which person? And when you decide who, then you know who to vote for. Bad roads, landslips, plague, Vancouver. Life-saving guardrails coming for highways. Life-saving guardrails coming. People dead in, you know. People dead in for 8 years. But and at least Richie Sukai, but he's just a minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport, and like them don't even tell he nothing. But Rohan Sinanan and the PNM saying, yes, y'all are dying. You're driving on that highway every day. People dying nearly every other week. But yes, just now wait. Try not to dead. We come in to fix the railings. That's PNM, people-centered government. And as I tell Sukai, let me tell you something. Richie Sukai, I don't know if you understand politics or if you are aware of what you got yourself in by joining the PNM because the UNC didn't give you what you wanted. Because Vassan Gelix, I do all kind of things to support Vassan, and so you couldn't get through with Vassan. Then you wanted to be mayor, Shagonas, you didn't get that, so you went by your PNM. But the PNM don't even want you, Richie Sukai. Ladies and gentlemen, a minister and a minister in the ministry, when questions are asked, they are the ones responsible. The convention is that when a minister or a minister in this specific ministry is in the chamber, the parliamentary chamber, that their deference is given to them, that they are there, they have the intricate knowledge, and they are given the honor to answer questions put by the opposition. Richie Sukai went in the parliament to answer an urgent question that Dave Tanku was giving him. Now, Richie, it's best you didn't go. And somehow they thought this was some big loss to who? This Richie Sukai who can't read in the Senate, and now he got, let me deal first with how woeful he was in answering a question. Imagine Richie Sukai, the minister in the Ministry of the PNM government, asking Devendra Tanku, and in opposition, who have no control over anything, no resources, he can't do anything. He asking the MP for Orapooch West for information on the collapse. Or you feel like joking? Run it, Archie.
Will the minister inform the House what urgent steps, if any, will be taken to address this immediate and dangerous development which poses a grave threat to motorists and members of the public?
Minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, thank you, and member for Orapooch West, thank you for your question in concern. However, the Ministry of Works and Transport currently right now is not aware of any recent reports of the tidal erosion at the Mosquito Creek, whereby the 750 feet of roadway that you're suggesting has collapsed, right? So we are then requesting maybe further information. However, member, notwithstanding that, the Ministry of Work continues significant work on the coastal, for the coastal protection, especially with the critical work that has been going on. So a lot of critical coastal protection preservation program has been attended to, where we have to date 22 contracts totaling of some figure of $262,740,959.03, right? The program is focused on the vulnerable coastal work, and we're looking at also the tidal issues, erosions, and the urgent suitability to be able to protect our valuable coastline.
Minister, following your question, is the minister stating that the Ministry of Works and Transport is unable to do its job, and hence, from the time of filing this question, was not able to find a person to put at Mosquito Creek to verify the issue?
Minister in the Ministry of Works and
Deputy
Transport.
Speaker, allow me to quote the famous Peter Tosh. Fools die for the want of wisdom. With that being said, let me explain. It was now brought to the minister's desk, and we are now going to attend. And if you have any further information, we're just requesting pictures and more information so that we can look into it. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, PNM, you got a good one there, man. You did. Hey, if idiot had a face, boy, Lord, and then, so he there now. So the drama really gets going now, because he is the minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport. And there are questions on the order paper, questions for oral answer, which are asked about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. So you have advance notice. The ministers and the ministries have time to compile answers and so on. So this minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport went to Parliament, and on the order paper there were questions for the Ministry of Works and Transport. So one would think that the minister in the ministry would be charged with the responsibility to deliver the answers. But look what happened. Run it, Archie.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, to the Honourable Minister of Works and Transport, Minister in the Ministry, my apologies. Question number 166.
Minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport.
I'll be answering these questions.
House.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the estimated completion time for the landslip repairs along the Naparima Mayaro Road.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. To the Honourable Minister, I noticed the Minister of Works in the Ministry is here, but he is not being permitted to answer. But maybe if the Minister took a look at the question, one of the areas was for completion date. Could the Minister provide the completion date, which was not addressed in the question?
Speaker, that was the first thing I said.
Miss.
Next question.
I'm telling you, my begging to try and answer. And I told you all, when he was sworn in the Senate, from when Daddy buy air condition and they drop on the PNM, the convention is that government ministers and the leaders of government business and so on congratulate and shake Camille Robinson-Regis and Fitzgerald Ethelbert Body Bag Hines were in the Senate, and I came and I told you all, they did not shake his hand. The PNM is shattered and splintered. So let me tell you something. So Camille Robinson-Regis, look, even poor Barry Padarat, he asking the question, and he's so honest and looking for he looked so to the minister to answer, only to know that Camille Robinson-Regis get the answer from Rohan Sinanan. Rohan Sinanan did not tell or advise or give any information to Richie Suka. PNM, or they just call the election now, or you cannot even manage your own team inside. Call the election, let the people get rid of all you. Go on to the dogs. Well, the PNM and this. An activist complains in the Express of the city pound in San Fernando, the filthy state. An activist who infiltrated the San Fernando dog pound and recorded video of the animals placed there on Saturday alleged that animals were abandoned by the city corporation. Footage of dogs in kennels at Lady Hills Avenue Pound was shared on social media. At least one dog, the activist stated, had escaped the enclosure. They are not being fed. There is no water. There are no resources. And that is people-centered, caring government. You understand? There are people in this country who will love and take care of animals. You just have to know who they are, and the government must give taxpayers' dollars to those people. It's that simple. But the taxpayers' dollars have to go to Rowley and Noel Garcia to build. And what shake off, shake off. But look, Fitzgerald Ethelbert Body Bag Hines. New nickname, Body Bag Hines. Because people, the only business booming while Fitzgerald Ethelbert Body Bag Hines is the minister, is body bag. Whoever does manufacture body bag, they're making real money because people dropping like flies. But watch the resources our services have to operate under the PNM. Run it, Archie.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the faulty equipment that firefighters use on a daily basis. This, by the way, is the truck out of the Shoguno station who ACFO they sent is the man in charge now. So they sent, you move from PRO to ACFO, so you're in charge now, large and in charge to fix these things so they wouldn't make you look bad and you wouldn't make the firefighters look bad. How much water you think will remain in this truck by the time they reach some emergency where they...
You could believe that. That's what the PNM thinks of our fire officers. You know how shame them fire officers would have to be driving around Chaguanas like that and people shouting, cussing them and saying what going on there, ridiculing them. That's how the PNM cares. So when it's time to vote, don't vote on nonsense about Rowley, say he black and he proud to be black. Vote on who would give resources and respect the fire services, prison services, and all public officials with wages and proper wage negotiation. If you want to know how much PNM hate people, and I use the word, I choose it very carefully, how much PNM hates people, this next story will break your heart. State to appeal ruling in Zika case. The state intends to appeal Friday's High Court judgment, which found that the Ministry of Health failed to provide a specialized health care to a 6-year-old Chaguanas boy with birth defects associated with the Zika virus. A child, sick child. First of all, the parents had to go to court in order to get some sort of redress, attention, care from this PNM. Things don't have to go to court, you know. If you have a caring, responsible minister and there was a problem, it can be settled and handled with respect and love and care. It don't have to go to court. But PNM don't care. A sick child with birth defects had to go through court, win a judgment. You know the PNM with the AG Lima going to appeal the case against the 6-year-old boy with birth defects. Let that soak in. Let that soak in, you know. What manner of heartless miscreant, what manner of abject evil human beings are in the PNM? They ain't appeal the fake oil case when their own senior counsel say appeal that, and then them settle through Rowley personal lawyer who was taking advice from junior lawyers because he ain't listen to the senior lawyer who say appeal, and then Rowley friend get 118 million plus a 10-year contract valued at 900 million and now get a block to go and do more work in Trinidad and Tobago, and these nasty PNM going to appeal a case to try to stop helping a sick child. I want to know, I don't even know if you understand what it is I really tell you, know. They are going to appeal the case to not assist and give resources to a sick child that got Zika, and their negligence, the ministry's negligence, the incompetence of the PNM led to pain and suffering of the child. They couldn't initially just settle it and handle it with heart, with care, with empathy. They fight a case with your money. They're using your money to fight a child, a sick child. Then the sick child win. You know the sick PNM going to appeal the case to try and fight the sick child? Move that. Look, the U.S. willing to help the government educate migrant children. Thank you very much, U.S. Ambassador. Because this government, PNM government, does not care about migrant children, their education, about whether they get shot out on the ocean. Yaelvi Sarabia got shot in his head and killed, and we don't know anything. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the leader of the opposition, has called for over 3 years now on at least 8 occasions for migrant children to be allowed to go to school, to register. So it has fallen on deaf ears of the current government, the PNM. So any assistance that you can give to us, to our country, to educate these children who have come here searching for a better life, we will greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. 6 children vanish from a children's home. 6 teenagers, 5 girls, Ayana Webster Roy, 5 girls and a boy living at a children's home in central Trinidad have been reported missing. They left the home on Saturday night for 2 days before the 16th birthday of one, and they are still missing. But don't worry, everything is okay, because one of the homes that, you know, there are many allegations against in the Judith Jones report and so on, they get in a new home. The PNM has fixed up a boys' industrial home, and look at it. They get in a new home, right? A brand new, refurbished, down in Diego Martin. But let me ask you this, Ayana Webster Roy. When they move from the old dilapidated building into the new fancy building, is it the same sickos who are going to be in charge, the same human beings who are in charge, and their allegations against? Those same people are going to be in charge in the new building? So you mean the children will just be abused in comfort? That's your great solution? That the place will be cleaner and nicer while the children are being battered and beaten, abused, raped and burnt with cigarettes? You look how nice. Oh, okay. So they'll be abused in a nice area. All right. Well, cool. Today, if you read newspapers today, I don't know if you all understood what I saw on the front page of one of today's daily newspapers. That our Coast Guard, a service that is built on honor, service to protect, to keep our nation safe from foreign and domestic invaders, to protect the seas around our beautiful twin island republic. Coast Guard, a service that is built on discipline, punctuality, respect, order. Our Coast Guard officers, 3 of them, and the Coast Guard in general, stand accused of beating, raping, and abusing a human being, a woman, a Venezuelan migrant, so badly that she was hemorrhaging, taking her out of the custody and dumping her out in Chagaramas. Soak that in. And don't think that it's only 3. Because from the pictures and the evidence presented, and I await the full running of the investigation and the charges to be laid, but that woman would have been bawling and screaming. And any and everyone within a 1 mile radius would have heard and therefore would have kept silent. And silence is acquiescence. Now, I have never heard of our Coast Guard being rapists and sickos. So what is this? Where does this come from? What is this attitude that made whoever feel that human being there, that Venezuelan woman, that migrant, was somehow less? Because I don't know about Coast Guard, man going up in Carnage and Lyman and raping Trini woman, and I don't know, I never hear about that. I read all kind of, I never hear that. So what clicked? What in the psyche clicked that something seems to be different with a Venezuelan woman than a Trinidadian and Tobagonian woman? What could have clicked? And I put it to you that when I tell you that leadership is a very important thing and actions must send a clear message. When the very Coast Guard gave a cock and bull story and they shot and killed, a bullet riddled through the brain of a little 2-year-old baby, Yaeldi Saravia, and the story did not make sense, and it was abject total nonsense, and there were 39 migrants, and they were shot at, and the baby was killed like he was less than human, and they were unarmed, and only one engine was working. And they claimed, the Coast Guard claimed that they were rammed, like a one engine boat with 39 people can't ram, it can't even go faster than the tide pulling the next way. And when Kamla Prasad, the Sessa, called it murder and called for an investigation and the weight of the law, the rule of law, to send a message that migrant people and migrant children have rights and they are equal to all of us. When Kamla Prasad Bisesa said that, all kind of monkey pants, Basan jump out, Botiwari jump out and say Kamla is accusing and attacking the services and she should not do that and so on. Remember that? They joined with Rowley and talk one set of nonsense. Do you see where the concept soaks into the consciousness of normally good human beings to believe that they could do this because in some way subconsciously they feel that migrant people coming for a better life, whether illegal, legal or whatever, that they are somehow less than human. Understand how sickening this is. We in Trinidad and Tobago are the sons and daughters of slaves and indentured laborers. We are a country that was pained and disrespected, victimized by the colonial system and colonial masters. We are free and independent and charting our own course, and this is what we do to others who are in a position of sufferation, seeking a better place. The sons and daughters of slaves and indentured laborers should never ever contemplate such a thing, because we were there, our forefathers were there, and that was done to them, and therefore we should be very woke, very aware, and treat people with love and respect, care, and uphold their human rights. But when the Minister of National Security and the Prime Minister and the National Security Council can see a little baby, Yaelvis Saravia, get murdered by the very Coast Guard and do nothing about it, defend it and treat the death of the baby as if it was nothing, and then the mother had to suffer for to get to bury the boy and all sorts of things. When you do that, the leaders send a message, an evil message, that somehow my illegal migrants are inferior and therefore these things can be done to them. Well, let me tell you something. The United National Congress is watching this case very carefully. Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the legal team is watching this case very carefully, because this is not a joke. Rowley talking about Kamla writing to Barbados and to the CARICOM Secretary General to find out who authorized a plane for police to go and kidnap Brent Thomas, a citizen in Barbados. And Rowley say that's nastying up the name of Trinidad and Tobago. This nasty is the name of Trinidad and Tobago. Big Coast Guard with Galil rifles riddling the brain out of a little baby, on defenseless, opening fire on defenseless, unarmed migrants and murdering a 2-year-old baby. That nasty is the name of Trinidad and Tobago. And then our same Coast Guard put in charge to protect and hold, taking advantage and beating and raping and battering a migrant woman. This is the saddest day in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know if you all understand. Our armed forces, our armed services, we supposed to all as citizens, when we see them in the uniform, you're supposed to get goosebumps and feel good, feel safe, feel that that's what you have to be. You have to be disciplined. You have to be work like that. That's how it should be. That's how we were taught. So this story, I don't know about you all, but this story, it's very sickening. but we'll monitor it. And that's the difference in leadership. So now you all know when Kamla Prasad Bisesa called it murder and called for thorough investigation and let the chips fall where they may with criminal charges and so on, and all of you in the PNM ignored that call, this is what it breeds. It breeds a concept and a feeling in individuals that it's open season on illegal migrants. That is a sick feeling. It is nasty, and it is not who we are. As he said, not who we are. I see PNM celebrating because a UNC councillor joined them from San Fernando, and they celebrated, look, we get a UNC. But I'm not understanding. And I thought, what you named Gedari or something? Archie and Gedari was on the platform 2 weeks. Let me say that Anil lie. I go play the video for you. But while you're all watching it, understand this. In the Westminster system, where it's first past the post, no proportional representation, you will find that people who are not as strong or do not believe in the policies and service the country, who are there for themselves, they will be easily weaned towards those who are in control. Whether those in control are immoral, unethical, bullies, whether they suppress and discriminate and divide the country and practice geographical discrimination and race discrimination by the deployment of resources only in areas that they feel comfortable with. And you join there, it's because you want something, or that's something new. That is a good thing. Let people like Gedari go. Boy, go fast. You should feel comfortable in Balize House. Maybe your uncle could donate a fan, and you might even get a seat in the Senate for a temporary senator, because you know air condition is the price to get in the Senate. But let me ask you something, Gedari. Is this you talking 3 weeks ago? Run it.
From Vistabella, South Marabella.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good evening, brothers and sisters. I am the elected councillor for the Marabella South Vistabella District, Marcus Gedari. And all the speakers that spoke before, they would have had the same clarion call. It is important that we win all 9 districts of San Fernando. All 9. San Fernando doesn't have a vision. There is no vision for San Fernando. Look at the street dwellers. Look at businesses. Everything is being washed into the waterfront area. But tonight I am calling and giving a mandate to the residents of San Fernando to come out and vote. When that date is announced, come out and vote for every one of the representatives of the United National Congress. We understand that PNM is the problem, but UNC is the only solution. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Thanks, my brother. People took your advice, so the people will come out and vote strongly, 100%, in all 9 districts for the UNC. So now that you're in the PNM, my brother, Gedari, whoever you is, the thing's not washing down in the waterfront again. The homeless have homes, they're sleeping on the bed, they're heating up the coffee in the microwave. The dog pound is seen about the roads smooth now that you're in red. Boy, good riddance to bad rubbish, boy. All PNM, welcome to them. You have any more? Shake out. The Alsing says Trinidad and Tobago named front runner in NCD's fight. Hey, this man, this PNM, they do nothing and just try to claim this. You know what this remind me of? This remind me of when they said we are #1 in the world. Remember this? Run it.
Point where the Blavatnik School of Government, which is a school of Oxford University, one of the top universities of the world, judged Trinidad and Tobago #1 in the world, #1 in the world, #1 in the world. We got 0.8 for testing, tracing, and isolation. 0.8 out of 1 is fabulous. We got 0.9 for community understanding, the way Dr. Rowley led us in talking to the people. But we scored a perfect 10 or a perfect 1 in this area. Management of imported cases and control. Listen to that. The way we managed how cases came into the country, how we controlled it, Trinidad and Tobago got a perfect score of 1. Number 1 in the world. Number 1 in the world.
But every variant known to man come through the open borders, as they didn't put diesel in the Coast Guard vessels that was there, and over 120,000 Venezuelan illegal immigrants came across, and we get all kind of variant, over 4,800 people dead. And he talking about 2 students who never come down here, didn't see anything. Just read what them say, that they block the citizens. Oh gosh, the citizens can't come home, people can't come home, airport closed. Hey, number 1, give them a full 1. That was tough, man. And them really they are making a mockery of government. I mean, when you you dream of being a minister and think you try to educate yourself and get bright so that when you debate, it will make sense and you will be able to analyze issues. And if you become a minister, you could bring cabinet notes and new policies to impact serious critical problems in the day. This PNM, they look like they scrape the bottom of the barrel for the most dotish and put them in front of the microphone. And as you look at our PNM meeting, the PNM, they were saying they are the government for everybody. They don't practice discrimination. And it is the UNC who don't like black people. All kind of nonsense they say. But when Kamala Prasad Bisesa is Prime Minister, the resources of the country go to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Whether you are black, Indian, Chinese, Syrian, douglAR, mix up in between, white, Portuguese, Hindu, Christian, Orisha, Baptist, Muslim, any religion, Rastafari. Kamala Prasad Bisesa as Prime Minister implemented policies from 33 different ministries that brought service to each and every citizen. She even had in the Ministry of the People a program called Direct Impact and so on, because poor people don't have time to buy papers and go on TV and look. People below the poverty line living on less than $100 US a month. They may have time to take taxi to go in town to get a form, to fill out a form and all of that. But the PNM comes now, and Donna Cox appoints 38 people to central and local public assistance boards. And I am the douglAR. And if all you want to talk race, because race has always come up when it comes politics, the douglAR will frontally discuss any race issue. I don't know if I actually had the picture now, but Donna Cox, right, she appoints 38 to public assistance boards. These are the people who are in charge of going out there, making sure, assessing people, getting resources to solve the poverty problem and issues in all communities across Trinidad and Tobago. Look at our picture and look very, very good, right? And this is the douglAR talking to you, who is 50% African Tobagonian straight from Tobago and 50% East Indian sari wearing mother. What you all notice in this picture, these people have been selected to go out there and look for poor people for assistance. The one Indian you're seeing in front is a ministry official, probably permanent secretary or somebody, right? Look all in the back. Tell me if you see an Indian. So Indian people not hungry. In Indian people, places where Indian people live, they have no poverty. The PNM have no Indian people who are involved with helping in social work and feeding people and so on. You see, when you want to talk race and you're in a glass house, you must stop it, PNM is the most disgusting, anti-national, anti-patriotic cult in the history of this country. You think Kamla Prasad Bissessa ever could have any board appointment that look like that? Kamla Prasad Bissessa on any board looks for diversity, whether it is ethnic, whether it's African, Indian, and so on, whether it's gender-based, she wants to see man and woman mix up in it, whether it is education, every board. Remember, you all used to say something, Kamala taking so long with boards because she understands the tapestry that is Trinidad and Tobago, and representation must not only be made, but it must be seen to be made, and it must be for everyone. So you tell me out of 38 board appointment, not one Indian, and then all they want to talk that there's race. PNM is a cult of separation and division in this country. And when any right-thinking citizen of this country who understands that we are neither Indian nor African, Syrian nor Chinese nor Portuguese, we are Trinbagonians, all of us, and everyone must be given an opportunity to serve the country. This is disgraceful. Donna Cox, shame on you. Your weave was too tight when you make the UNC. Something wrong with that. Rowley wants Farley. Rowley wants Farley, and he's monitoring the THA audio fiasco and says there will be consequences if law is breached. And here, Rowley, you are the what? Commissioner of Police? You are what? TTPS? If the law is breached, that's not your work. But you see, you're getting so confused because you're warping all the separation of powers that you are believing in your dictatorial, oppressive self. You are not in charge of the police. Just because you control IRLA now, that's not correct. The independent senators and the media and so on allowed you to interact and interface with the president and Blissy Prasad to thwart a meritless crash of police service commission and put your dirty fingers into the process of the appointment of a commissioner of police. That does not, because it happened, does not mean it is right. It is wrong. And you are not one to be monitoring anything but if laws are breached. In fact, the police should be monitoring you with your Chinese gate, property and your integrity in Public Life Act forms, with your misbehavior in public office at the President's house, with the Police Service Commission fiasco, you and Al-Rawi with Nelson Gate, the police should be knocking on your door. You talking about police and Rowley balling about shenanigans and so on. But when you're talking, and that's about paying bloggers for propaganda and so on, which the PNM invented, perfected, exaggerated, and continues to implement throughout within every ministry. I gave you all the example of Rhoda Barrett at NLCB. And understand this, that people have been requesting information on the process. How was the job created? What was the process? Where were the advertisement? Who was the team who interviewed? And how Rhoda Barrett got this job? Do you know what the PNM doing? The PNM has refused to give the information from the Ministry of Finance. It's over 2 years now, since 11th, 14th of 2022, 14th of November, right? And the PNM, who did not bring the Freedom of Information Act, that was a UNC bill, UNC law, but the PNM hates to tell you everything for them is NDA, non-disclosure, and they cannot tell you what was the process. Come back, Archie. That is the problem. Because if you went through a process, cabinet note, creating the position, go to PMCD, let it fix the perks, salary, and so on, then advertise, show the qualifications necessary to advertise and go ahead, go through the process at the ministry, rank and qualify, and if 20 people applied for the position, see, and if Rhoda Barrett came out number one, so be it. But you see, if that was not done, it's illegal, Rowley, so monitor that. Monitor yourself. Oh, go move that now, you're frightening me. I can't even look, I'm looking straight in the camera, boy. Now, Norman Sabga III. You see, my brother, when you stop Anil, as you're playing in your Hearts Carnival band, and you stop and you tell me too harsh on you, how Guardian Media is a bastion of democracy and the independent, and they're not PNM, and Anil too hard, and I'm lying on you. And I tell you, I don't lie on nobody. Remember that? Mr. Norman Sabga III? Well, look what you went and did in your Guardian Media Limited. You hired the worst, the most biased, the most corrupt, the most conflicted investigative journalist in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. PNM and Balize Juice and Rice. PNM and more PNM to head up your media houses investigative journalist section, and you have the audacity to tell me that I lie on you and you are impartial. And don't tell me you weren't aware, you know, Norman Sabga III. You are a very intelligent person. You must have information, and before you all make such a hire, you all will do some background checks and so on. So don't tell me you didn't know about the judgment against Asha Javid and who Asha Javid was and how the express mover from investigative, you could put up that, investigative journalism to business, because this was a rumor all the time, right? But when this one accosted me and I bust it on the radio, it became fact. And the express mover, and now Norman Sabga III, you hire Asha PNM Javid to head up your newspaper. Nobody will buy a newspaper. You're down from 17,000 per day down to 8,000. You will go down to 1,000, because them PNM and them don't like to read. Not even the ministers just read. So they have to listen. And if you didn't know, but I don't believe that, you must have known. So your PNM draws showing. But let me just give you a little reminder now. Norman Sabga III, run it. And the Express newspaper and Medina and Sibalak Singh sued them, right? Now, the judgment went in favor of the then CEO who had resigned, Sibalak Singh. Now let me read some parts of the judgment for you, specifically dealing with Asha Javid, who just tell all you she proud of she credible work, even though she was always conflicted in love and making children for PNM ministers and writing lies about the UNC. Let's read from the judgment. Put up 71. There was no evidence before the court to suggest that either Miss Medina or Miss Javid perceived that more than one possible meaning could have been attributed to the words complained of in the first and second articles. In any event, a journalist's perception as to the non-defamatory meaning to defamatory statements is only relevant where the journalist was fully engaged in an attempt to verify the information. In this case, for the reasons that will be outlined later on the judgment, the court formed the view that reasonable steps to seek verification were not undertaken. Miss Javid, at the time she wrote the second article, was a journalist of over 10 years experience. The information contained in all the articles written by Miss Medina clearly established that there was a board in place, right? Remember in the previous one, 115, Asha Javid said that she had read this article, but this article written by the fourth defendant stated that there was a board in place at the time when the claimant signed off on a 22 million payment, and there was therefore no basis, says the judge, for her assertion that there was no board of directors in place. In the third defendant's testimony also contradicted paragraph 13 of the re-amended defense. That is Asha Javid contradicting herself. 125. Ms. Javid wrote that the $22 million payment was above the ceiling of $2 million, and this was in breach of the company's internal rules. According to her evidence, it was her understanding that pursuant to the EMBDC's internal procedures and authorizations, any payments of that quantum had to be approved by the board. However, under cross-examination, she accepted that since payment was made under a tenders committee approval form there could have been no breach of the company's internal rules as reported in the second article. To the facts of this case, the court formed the view that an award of exemplary damages should be made so as to punish the conduct of the defendants, which is the Express and Asha Javid, which was reprehensible and should attract punishment. There could have been no honest belief that the claimant's departure from the EMBDC was as a result of any circumstance other than his ill health. In other words, they are bloody liars. In furtherance of the public interest, the purpose should be primarily centered on uncovering corruption, injustice, dishonesty, and maladministration. The obligation must be to reveal that which has been concealed, which deliberately or accidentally by those in authority, but which is information that the public has a right to know. Character assassination should never be the focal point of any investigative piece of journalism. The journalists who wrote the articles, and in particular, Ms. Javid, both failed to discharge the onerous obligation that rested on their shoulders as investigative journalists, and their focus was on character assassination and scandal. Yes, sir. So, for your Guardian Media Limited, out of, I'm sure the position must have been advertised. I didn't see it, but. And out of all the candidates that applied to your august institution that you claim is balanced and not biased, you and your committee selected the one human being who has on her track record a final court judgment saying she was dishonest, she was incompetent, she was maligning people, she was wicked, scandalous, and that was a political case because that was UNC, EMBDC, and so on. So, sir, with all due respect, when you see me, leave me in peace. Don't come and tell me anything about your Guardian Media. I lie on all you, and y'all are really independent. You have shown your PNM bias by your hiring of Asha Javid. You have shown that you do not even care for your business because Guardian Media has made $8 million in losses last year, and it will go up now because I am calling on all my supporters and all supporters of Trinidad and Tobago and a mass media that presents the facts and does not find friends with politicians, whether UNC or PNM, but does their job to the best of their ability with honesty. I call on everybody to stop buying, watching, touching anything to do with Guardian Media Limited and Guardian newspaper. And I know that you cannot do anything and you will not do anything because, one, I believe that you knew all of that. And you showed your PNM bias by making this appointment and this hiring. You promoted incompetence and dishonesty. But on the off chance, the 2% chance that you did not know all this information and you now know, I wait to see what you will do. You see, what you do will determine when next I see you, whether I say, hey, my brother, how you going? Or whether I look straight through you, because I don't deal with dishonest PNM people who mash up this country. So it's over to you. If you know now, well, let's see what you will do. Have a good evening, Mr. Norman Sabga III. Government working behind the scenes on gas deal. U.S. policy hurting TNT. I thought all you came out. I thought Rowley come out. I thought the Guardian newspaper editorial say, yeah, dragon gas. We going, we matching up the play. Kamla, Rushton Paré, UNC, Anil, Jolene John. Everybody say, David Lee. What nonsense are they talking about? Even Maduro say, what nonsense are they talking about? We need cash. The PNM and the Guardian Media and Express and the people, all they big excited, start to big up Rowley for this dragon gas. We telling all about the thing ain't going nowhere. You can't pay, if you can't pay people money with that and that is nothing. Now Rowley, oh God, well, it's not going. They went up there like two sprung. All you could come and meet with me now. All you buy nuts from me now and give me a meeting on the steps of the Congress in the USA. No meeting, Rowley and Smallpen, like two tout hustling down to try and get something. Now they say they're blaming US and US policy hurting Trinidad and Tobago. No, US policy hurting you, Rowley, you, Smallpen, Newman George, and whatever deal all you want to cut with Delcy. And to the new US ambassador, I know you're a Democrat, but US is US, and US government, there's some sort of continuity. I just want to remind you all of who Rowley is and what the former US ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago had to go through in dealing with Rowley and Stuart Smallpen Young. Run it.
Good to see you once again back here on Long Island. So I guess to start off here, tell us about what it was like on those Twin Islands serving as the ambassador. What is the role? What was the situation there on the ground?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, the weather there is beautiful. And it always is between, I would say, 80 and 90 degrees. And it's a very enjoyable place to be. The government, however, I'll get right to the point, is definitely not looking at the United States the way they should. And I have to say it, I have to be completely blunt about it, because they had, in fact, their prime minister, his name is Keith Rowley, although a nice gentleman, made a statement to the paper that the United States was Trinidad's partner of the past. The United States was Trinidad's partner of the past.
And now he crying the dragon can't dance. All you continue to allow dunces like Keith Rowley to just spew lies and create it into some story. And when the UNC tells you clearly, cogently, puts the facts on the table, you all get confused. Rowley is now making a case, and some in the media are accepting that election observers are a bad thing, that we don't need that. Really and truly, Rowley say, no to observers for election. Really? Run it, Archie.
And now they're talking about if observers don't come, it's my fault. And with her outer placeness, I must show her the letter that the Commonwealth replied saying that they can't afford to send people here for 14 days quarantine. But I'm showing nobody any letter. I'm telling you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that the Commonwealth told us that it is too expensive for them to undertake that mission, and so therefore they will take a pass on it. And I know that you will accept that from a Prime Minister who always tells you the truth.
And we're with a long-standing political activist, Mr. Harry Raghunandan, and well-renowned as well as a former member of the People's National Movement. Do you think that Mr. Rowley contacted the Secretary General early enough so that their presence could have been felt or could have been had in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, there was a lot of doubt hanging over that story. He was given ample time. In fact, he knew the date of the election, and he was a member of the Commonwealth Heads of Government conference in London that he attended, where the decision was made that they should be given notice 2 to 3 months before the election, and then they would have sent an observer team about the same period before the election. And after that, they were supposed to have sent a team of observers for the elections about 2 weeks before the election. So he was signature to that arrangement. What is coming out now is he's making a statement that they could not have afforded it, which again is totally wrong, because at that conference it was agreed that the Secretariat, the Commonwealth Secretariat, would bear all the expenses for both trips of the observers, the ones 3 months before the election and 2 weeks before the election. They were not, the host of the election was not called upon to pay 1 cent.
I'm telling you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that the Commonwealth told us that it is too expensive for them to undertake that mission, and so therefore they will take a pass on it. And I know that you will accept that from a Prime Minister who always tells you the truth.
And then you have to read from the Express. The Express newspaper says this, that in truth, in the editorial page 12 on Thursday, 1st June, in truth, this newspaper sees no compelling case for foreign observers in the coming local government election. But then we have also never been excited by sometimes hysterical demands, right? Very little gets past the armies of polling day personnel who are sent into the field and polling stations to scrutinize every detail. So the Express is telling you that elections, in the Express's opinion, are always beautifully run, especially under the PNM. So the Express does not understand, first and foremost, the concepts of separation of powers, independent institutions, and apparent bias. So the Express does not find it wrong that the niece of a former PNM sitting cabinet minister and the best friend of the current deputy political leader of the PNM and Minister of Education, Nyan Gadsby Dolly, for Narcissus Scope, being in charge or the referee in an election. The Express finds that normal, and that holds up the highest levels of propriety and independence. Really, Express? Furthermore, the Express is saying that they are unaware of any shenanigans that the PNM undertakes. Haven't I told you all in 2010 in Dabadi Omira, in Karapo RC School, that I had to stay there till 7:38 p.m. when the last person voted? There was a house, luckily, of a supporter, and 300 yards I sit down by a chicken coop, because the average time to vote in one box was 4 hours and 15 minutes. Because if you know Dabadi Omira's seat, on one side of the highway is Malabar and so on, strong PNM, and the other side is Karapo, strong UNC. And the EBC designed the list and the voting. In one box they put letters R to W. Siraram, Saram, Singram, Logan, Rad, Tira, this, that, also the Indian name. And they had O and P in one box. 2 people vote there. I called Robert Masso at 6:15 a.m. and the EBC to complain and so on. 13 years later, they never even reached. They never did anything. And that was Robert Masso, who was a quiet PNM. Because remember in 2015, he called the PNM and gave them an extra hour for the election, but he didn't tell the UNC. And then the judges come in the Court of Appeal and say, well, we cannot exactly say in that hour how it would have impacted the election. The fact of the matter is that one team was given an advantage, an unfair advantage, and that would have meant that the election was not fair, because an election must be fair. That alone. Secondly, everything you could say about the PNM, but there's one thing that the PNM does to a brilliant science, and that is mobilization of their membership and their masses down to the house, the person, the wheelchair, the crutch. Their political machinery on election day is par excellence. They know how to move. So 1 hour advantage with a PNM machinery of 60 years perfection is a huge advantage. So the Express finds that none of these things that have existed gives them any cause for concern. Well, Express, here are some other things that normal, reasonable people would be concerned about, and therefore would want international observers to be here to make sure that an election is free and fair and free from fear. Run it, Archie.
There will be no international observers at the local government elections that are upcoming. This from the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, as he spoke about the upcoming poll at a breakfast meeting hosted by the People's National Movement.
There's one due in a few weeks. Some of our colleagues are telling me I must invite foreigners to come and observe our local government election. No. What is it we expect to happen here in a local election that we have to invite foreigners to come and look at it? They're free to come if they wish. It's a free country. But that is not part of the government system. Why are we selling ourselves short? You know what we do? We send people from Trinidad and Tobago from our Election and Boundaries Commission to observe other people's election because they see us as superstars in that business.
The request for international observers came from the opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who said that the UNC does not trust the government with that process. Dr. Rowley said that the PNM's record is without blemish.
It without blemish, run it Archie. What without blemish, and all your people, anyway, that's a set of PNM people in that breakfast anyway. $1,200 breakfast with the PNM. People don't even count, the real PNM people who vote couldn't even have doubles for breakfast. But them PNM and they clapping he in a tutu brown suit with a $1,200 breakfast. Right? So all you understand what the PNM is about. The PNM is about Rowley and small pen recusals. The PNM is about Noel Garcia. The PNM is about Newman George and Kwamina and interlocking directorships. The PNM is about big contractors getting every single cent to work. And the PNM is not about you. So when it's time to vote, it is clear who you have to vote for. And let me tell you something. Rowley, you send observers to Guyana and to interfere in Ghana. We go learn about that shortly, you know. But understand why Rowley don't want observers. Because these things happen, but if you don't want to hear and you don't want to see, then you will be PNM for life. Run it.
There will be no international observers at the local government elections that are upcoming. This from the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, as he spoke about the upcoming poll at a breakfast meeting.
Wrong one, that's all right. Or you send the wrong one? When it reaches the one with the whole list. Because let me tell you something. Yes. Well, let me put up that list then. I'll read it. And if the video come after, you'll play it. Yeah, go up, left, right. Elections irregularities thus far from 2020. Narcissus Scope, niece of PNM Member of Parliament appointed to run EBC. No international observers. 2015, Rowley demands observers. Rowley lies about Commonwealth observers lacking funds. Rowley refuses to simply show letter. PNM Tobago leadership election, 5,000 votes. It took 54 hours to count. Narcissus Scope appoints and assigns all returning officers and EBC staff to respective polling divisions and constituencies. 2 returning officers in a marginal constituency of Maruga Tableland were arrested for attempting to gain access to secure an area on Sunday. These officers still allowed to oversee elections. Leader of the PNM announces victory while EBC was still counting. PNM officials claim victory at 9:42 p.m. on Facebook while the count is supposedly still going on. Toko Sangrigrandi vote separation 17 minutes was 3,000, just went up just so. Faris Al-Rawi seen at EBC office said it wasn't him, and he later said it was me, but I was just going to check to see if everything good. Al-Rawi claims he was dealing with a Princess Town issue in San Fernando West. Another video surfaces of same Al-Rawi visiting yet another EBC location after close of polls on Monday. Video surfaces of piles of discarded poll cards in Arima. St. Joseph recount unearths 171 ballots with fraudulent initials. That is a very critical thing. With no initials of election officers in one polling division. And there were 53 polling divisions. So if you extrapolate that, look at the amount of votes and the vote tallies and the victory margins. In 2 marginals was only 2,600 votes that brought Rowley to be Prime Minister. Returning officer in St. Joseph refusing to allow parties to compare initials. No sample signatures given to lawyers for comparison. Call Mimbot assures country recount will be fruitless. Only way electoral fraud can occur is if envelopes are not sealed. They found 5 unsealed envelopes in St. Joseph. St. Joseph entire ballot box of votes were noted in an unsealed, unsigned envelope. Noel Garcia shows up in St. Joseph, speaks secretly to a returning officer and EBC officials. Tunapuna recount continued without UNC present. Special electors in St. Anne's East increased miraculously. And it goes on and on. Information on distribution of special electors not forthcoming. St. Joseph request by UNC to review and vet the electoral diary of voters who voted without ID was denied. COVID-19 pandemic leading up to the election, the PNM Minister of National Security had sole discretion on who could come home, and they was only letting PNM come home and all the other 35,000 citizens left out. Narcisscope denies public access to all polling station diaries. Faris changes his story. Inordinate and unprecedented numbers of voters in St. Joseph, Lauketa, Talparo who voted without poll cards. And all of the, in the marginals, all the numbers for PNM came up to 9,450 or 200 more or less of that number. Ballot box in St. Joseph found unsealed. Independent EBC adopts an adversarial public position. If you're independent, why are you attacking the UNC if the EBC is not to be PNM nor UNC? EBC refuses transparency. Statement of poll found doctored in St. Joseph reported to the police. To more irregular, totally different initials with different ink and handwriting in 5 different polling stations. The EBC keeping ballot stubs secret. EBC presents false narrative to the population, and all of that was just in one election. And the Express, you come in to say all of that. Doesn't it give you a moment to pause, to think, to say, hey, let's make sure, let's double check, let's get observers, because our democracy is being played with. But you know why you have to cheat? When you ain't good and you're dotish, you have to cheat. Senator Jayanti Lakshmidhyal showed the brilliance of the United National Congress in a debate and in the Parliament, in the Senate this week. She was devastating to the PNM, their lies, their incompetence. And she broke it down so pellucidly that she shattered the mind, the mentality, the decorum, the character of the minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs, Senator Sagram Singh Suklal, who resorted to the most vile, immature, stupid comments in the Senate because she could not battle with her brain. Run it, Archie.
So low as to dissect the composition of the highest court in our land and criticize and draw inferences about people's background to try to say that that had something to do with the judgment of the Privy Council. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter if you're Scottish, Irish, Welsh, German, or French. You get licks in the Privy Council. You get licks. And we are here today on the heels of that licks that we put on them in the Privy Council. Whether it was 3, 2, 4, 1, it does not matter. Licks is licks.
We don't go in the away goals. Let the Euro Cup.
We have Duckworth Lewis system in cricket, and now apparently we have Amor Al-Rawi system in terms of judgments, where we check in judges and working out a mathematical formula to see if we were very wrong or just a little bit wrong. You're wrong. Today by telling them. Everybody likes to come here with a quote. I like movies. I will quote from a movie, one of my favorite movies. You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting. Come back when you are worthy. And come back in the polls and show people of this country that you are worthy when you talk about reform, because you have been found to be most unworthy government to the people of this country.
And after that brilliant presentation, look at the response from the minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs. Run it.
I believe that the senator is indeed astounded and she's confused, because apparently for a second she thought this was spread pal with Munilal and this was not the Senate. You see, the Senate requires a certain level of decorum, Mr. Vice President. The Senate requires a certain level of behavior, and the way in which they will rise on a standing order if it's out of place.
To tell you how you are to behave as a parliamentarian than what you're doing here. You're not supposed to be here. This is not the place for you.
Sagram Singh Sukra, all I would say is you embarrassed yourself. And the inability to debate for an attorney means that you need to find a new profession. Because if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. To stoop so low to personal attacks, it means that you did not have any legal argument, no justification. You could not respond. You were shattered, battered, and beaten. And you went just like in the market. When man, if you're going in the market and man fighting, if a man say, but they just start to cuss down the place, you cuss down the Senate. You embarrass yourself. I am all shame for you. Move her from there now. And on top of that, the PNM got a shellacking from independent Senator Welch also, just to show you. And the whole idea of this is that the PNM continues to be deceitful. They're afraid of the population. They want to stay in power, control the treasury, spend your resources on their recusals, their friends, families, and financiers, and not spend it on you. So they don't want to give you a chance now that the PNM has been unmasked, and the population across the entire Trinidad and Tobago, African, Indian, Chinese, Syrian, mix-up, douglAR, every single person wants to see the back of Rowley and Smallpin and the PNM. They're afraid to call election. But listen to this tongue lashing that the PNM got from independent Senator Welch.
I've heard in this chamber forceful arguments. I say forceful only to indicate not necessarily its merit, but the verbosity of it, to the effect that the majority got it wrong. It has even been taken to the point where, to the extreme where, one started adding up the amount of judges in the Court of Appeal and the High Court and the dissenting judges in the Privy Council and saying they exceed the number of the majority. That is an argument which is surprising and which is without merit, and it is something which one ought not to be getting into the back of and advancing. It is almost a violation, I would say, of the rule of law and the principles. The fact is, the Privy Council is our apex court. It is the highest court. The fact is, a decision of the Privy Council can be a unanimous decision or a majority decision. Whether unanimous or in the majority, it is the same effect. And where that decision is in the majority, I submit and advance that it is out of order to be delving into the scrutiny of it and trying to undermine it and question it and suggest my legal reasoning is superior or that of the dissenters, and it is wrong. That is a violation of the court system, the rule of law, and the constitutionality of the system of justice. And it is the first time I have to say, in my relatively short 36 years as a practitioner, I have ever seen an approach like this. I do not condone it, and I do not associate with it. And I dare say that it is wrong.
Yes, senior counsel, no taker, lie more. And to all of you others who play in the fool in the face of PNM, disgraceful dishonesty, atrocious attacks on institutions, and shattering of our democracy, shame on you. To the citizens of this country, enough is enough. Get your finger ready, start to warm it up. Because even in the face of the worst crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago, still the PNM comes with arrogance. Minister of Public Utilities Marvin Gonzalez, aka the Minister of Man, who know one man should be driving the van with the plan with the golden hand. The Minister of Man, who only measuring inseam by new fashion designer, he come to say that he fully support Hines. Well, yes, Minister of Man. Archie, you know why the Minister of Man will support Hines? Put it up there. Because you want your turn next. Eh? You want to ride horse with a little boy on it and go jockey back in. You want to do that your next move. You must support Hines. Imagine this man, Fitzgerald Bodybag Ethelbert Hines, did not understand that something wrong with that. Sitting down, hugging up, rubbing up on a little boy like that, and he come in the Senate to cast aspersions on Jolene John. Let me tell you something, Hines. When you're that sick, stay far from me, boy. You understand? Stay very far. You could stay close to the minister, man. All they will make good friends, good company, and have a good time together. I will even provide 2 horses for you to go and ride far into the sunset and leave Trinidad and Tobago alone. Leave the governance of Trinidad and Tobago alone because of your total incompetence. While you riding a horse looking for boy to rub up on, look at what people going through. Run it, Archie.
My son was just held up at gunpoint in broad daylight, and his car was stolen. Thankfully, he was not hurt. So if there's a good side, he was not hurt. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been on Facebook almost virally dealing with this question of crime and mismanagement of this country. Right? Without it hitting home, I knew, I had the perception to realize that this thing is out of hand and it's not getting better. Right? Only those who are enjoying top level security at state's expense, and the wealthy who can afford it, the 1%, they're the only ones that can feel safe. Right? This thing, you know,
yes. And on top of that, throughout Trinidad and Tobago, as Fitzgerald Bodybag Hines comes in the Senate to talk arrogantly and cast aspersions, while he is the worst Minister of National Security in the history of the Commonwealth. This is what is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago in the last 5 days. Run it. And evil stalks this land. Our Coast Guard stands accused of killing 2-year-old baby, beating and battering and raping an illegal immigrant woman in their care. murders, home invasions, school fights. A country that has lost its soul. And leadership is a critical element in any organization, any firm, any football team, any sports team, any company, or in any country. Leadership is key. So clearly, over the past 8 years, Trinidad and Tobago has gone down a dark path of evil. And it has to be because of the leadership. And the leader is Keith Christopher Rowley. And his Shampa Kojo said, she is from Lekoto. But the Gladiator, I got this clip. Someone sent it for me and thank you. The Gladiator, who was a PNM. Listen to what he said way back when about this evil man called Keith Rowley. This is not no normal human being. He is a sick fellow. Run it.
But today, I told you yesterday I come to deal with Bim and Bam. Yes. These two political fools, Rowley and Hines. Yes! Rowley and Hines. Citizens of TNT, you lucky is only 1 hour, no 1 hour. You're lucky. Because you know 1 hour is not enough for me. Citizens of TNT, citizens of the Republic, in 2012, in the month of January 2012, the citizens of TNT awoke to the news that the former political leader of the PNM party, Patrick Manning, got a stroke. It touched many of us. It touched many of us. This week, many members of the PNM, thousands of PNM, were taken by surprise, in shock, in utter disgust, to hear a comment coming from the political leader against the former leader of the PNM. Now you know this man Rowley, he loves to sue. He have the attorneys, Faris Alwari, Stuart Young. Well, the ballad will say is a waste of time. Full of talk and chat. Chatter. Yeah. So, I brought the recording here because many people have been calling me even before I come here. Many PNM people have been calling me and saying, Gladiator, this man is going too far. Dr. Keith Rowley. And rather than you unite the party, these are the things that you are saying on a platform. You decide to talk about Obia and direct your Obia to the former leader of the party. Let's hear track one first.
I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Lekoto.
I didn't hear that clearly at all. Let's hear that again one more time.
I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Lekoto.
Ah, you're bad, you're brave, you're bold. I'm from Mason Hall. And Mason Hall close to Lekoto. Eh? Let me hear it again.
I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Lekoto.
Mason Hall very close to Lekoto. Yeah. You ain't say Mason Hall close to Moriah, but you say Mason Hall close to Lekoto. Because you feel that all of we are a bunch of dunce. You see, God do not sleep. He might wear pajamas, but he don't sleep at all. He don't sleep at all. Patrick Manning is not in the politics. Patrick Manning is relaxing and trying to recuperate from the stroke he received in the month of January 2012. I want the listening public, we're going now to the next track because I'm going to play the whole track that I want to play for you all.
Continue, and the analysis you must understand. You must understand how wicked and evil Keith Christopher Rowley is when he talk about Lekoto and Obi and celebrating the illness and sickness of a former leader of the PNM. And then when you link that evil, that heartlessness to he is the leader, he is the bully in charge for 8 years, and evil pervades the society at every level, whether it is abuse of stray animals and dogs in San Fernando, to the abuse of citizens, homelessness increasing, murder, gun beating, children's homes, Judith Jones report, rape, disgraceful behavior by the Coast Guard, raping and beating women, shooting and killing babies, mothers, pregnant ladies getting murdered, children playing sport and dying. We are in a mess because Rowley is evil. And listen to Gladiator explain it. Go back.
Because some people didn't hear it at all. But it is my duty to monitor every statement that this bim, and the next one, bam, the ballad rasta. Because y'all are two political blights in the pain. And this is why I told you, Rowley, I told you that you're not fit to be prime minister at all. I told you that because you have venom in you, you have spite in you, you have too much hate in you. You're just like Jack Warner. And Jack Warner trying to carry the torch for you. Because Jack Warner knows that you will never be prime minister. Let's hear what this man have to say about Patrick Manning.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Lekoto. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it.
Wait. Play that again. Play it. And you hear the woman laughing. She happy. Let me hear it again. Let me hear that part again.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Lekoto. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it.
Hear the laugh. Hear the laugh. Yeah, because you knew, and you paused because you knew they got the message. We go into the real track here. Play it.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Lekoto. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it. Remember I was in the cabinet? I took issue over the behavior of Calder Hart and UDCOP. And what happened to me? I was put out of the cabinet. The person who put me out regretted it.
And you want to be the next prime minister of this country? You want to be the next prime minister of this country, and this is what you have to say about the former leader of the People's National Movement? What does go through your head, Rowley? What did this really go through your head? What does really go through your head? Patrick Manning has not stated anything or say anything about you since the Prime Minister have announced the election. Everybody knows that Electoral is reputed as the homeland for obeah, witchcraft, black magic, obeah, necromancy, making pact with the devil. Everybody knows that. You did not mention that Mason Hall is close to Moriah in Tobago. You could have mentioned that. But you knew what you were saying. But you know you will have Faris Alwari coming to spin that. You can't spin that at all. So wait now, you went to Gangang Sarah in Leketo. You know who's Gangang Sarah? I show them Tobagonians know who's Gangang Sarah. You go on a platform, you mount a platform to talk obeah on the former leader of the people. Look.
And when you understand that enough of us did not listen to Patrick Manning, to Gladiator, to all of those who knew Keith Rowley intricately, and how wicked and vindictive and evil he was, and how he doesn't care about human beings and single mothers and the poor, and all he cares about is money, 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 and how to spend your money. For those who did not pay attention, you will get another chance. It is sad that the country has had to suffer 8 years of this man's tyrannical rule. But whatever chance you get, you have to put the political dart straight through the heart of the evil that he has brought, whether in local government, general election, wherever it is. And always remember the 5 signs of a toxic leader. Watch this video, run it, and think about who it represents.
Nobody likes a toxic leader. Here are 5 signs to look out for to help you identify if your leadership is healthy or not. Number 1, toxic leaders command loyalty, they don't cultivate it. This looks like manipulation, bribes, and flattery. Good leaders don't need to demand others or trick people into loyalty. Number 2, unhealthy leaders place personal success over kingdom success. They will use people as resources to their own vision instead of partners in the kingdom. Number 3, they avoid correction from others. A toxic leader is a rogue leader, has no leadership or accountability in their own life. The problem with this type of leader is that when they are wrong, they have nobody to tell them. Number 4, toxic leaders lead with insecurity. They have to talk bad about other leaders and ministries to make themselves feel better. And finally, number 5, they operate in pride. They never make a mistake or need to apologize. Their ideas are always the best and the only ones that matter. They will never allow anyone to question them or their strategies. Not all leaders are good ones, and these are signs that will help you spot the toxic ones.
And even in the PNM, they have realized, that's what I am telling you, even within the bowels, deep inside the PNM, in the cabinet, in the general council, they know that Rowley is a toxic leader. They know it better than you and I, because them have to live with he and meet with he every day. But they only bad talking and shoo-shooing behind. But when they keep talking behind and they keep mentioning and they keep reminiscing about Patrick Manning and how the PNM was different and then Patrick Manning and so on, while they keep talking quietly, sometimes it comes to your forefront in your consciousness and you make a Freudian slip. And Foster Cummins, run it.
Under the stewardship of the Honorable Patrick. That's just to show you how long I listen. I feel I listening too long. Today, under the stewardship of the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley.
And the people of the PNM around him, the Rahals and so on. I disagreed with his implementation, sufferation, and his lack of focus in different areas. That is political debate. But I would never tell you that Patrick Manning was evil and didn't like people. Rowley is an evil, vindictive, wicked human being. And all good people must stand up and get rid of that dotish, bald-head bully. Good night.